Hey, speakers, we're going to go ahead and get into it. So go ahead and like and subscribe, and let's get started. Hey, everyone. How's everyone doing? Hopefully, everyone is doing well. I am coming to give my opinion on this past week's episode. Well, should I say, give my opinion on the Carlos King and Dustin Ross interview. Now, I love me some Dustin. I'm glad that he has returned for this season because I think he is very unbiased. I think he, speak his mind. He tell it like it is, and in this interview, he did not disappoint. So, of course, before we deep dive into getting into everything, please go ahead and like the video if you have not already. Subscribe to the channel and join the family if you haven't already as well. And turn on those notification bells so you'll be notified, of course, whenever another video is uploaded. Now, I did have some people reaching out to me in reference to my Cash App. My Cash App is scrolling at the bottom of the screen, but it is Just Being Me Speaks. So $ Just Being Me Speaks if you would like to make any type of donations, as well as I do accept super chats and thanks as well. And of course, for all of you that have supported the channel, just know you are well appreciated. I definitely appreciate it. I love each and every one of you. So it's no big deal. Not, that doesn't make you family if you're unable to give, trust, and believe. I understand everyone's situation. I'm just glad that you support me just by liking the video and watching. So thanks a whole bunch. So we're going to get into it. As I stated, Dustin never disappoint when he come on with Carlos and kind of do his review and take on, the actual shows as well as the season. So they kind of go into the past episode, and it was in reference to where they started off with the Tiffany, Marceau, and Martell situation. And Carlos asks, do you think that Tiffany was actually being messy? And Dustin responded and said, yeah, but from a show standpoint, she was moving the story. So basically, she done what she was supposed to do, and viewers want to see it. Pretty much, we know in the previous seasons. Now she have came with a little shade here and there, but I kept questioning and asking. When they did decide to bring Tiffany and Lou back, I'm like, okay, so they ain't do too much in these past, seasons. So what could they be possibly wanting to bring this season other than the fact that Tiffany was having a baby? But Tiffany, she seems as though to me, I don't know if they had a conversation with her or what, but she is so far this season is understanding the actual assignment at hand. And but he said that yes, he do feel that, Tiffany was being a little messy, when she was questioning Sheree and all of that. But of course, she on reality TV and she knows that. So pretty much she did what a lot of people, probably wouldn't have. Tiffany kind of go out there on a limb and take one for the team. She asks the questions that a lot of viewers, want to have answers for. So I definitely I'm enjoying Tiffany this season because of course she is doing a lot more than what I have seen her do in past seasons. So I really appreciate that. I think they kind of shook Tiffany up that first season when she came on with the situation between Monster and Maurice and Kimmy. I think she kind of shook things up and she kind of was quiet and maybe timid. But this season, she said, okay, that's over with. That's done with. I'm going to do what I got to do to hold my position here. So I ain't taking none of y'all feelings into consideration. So it is what it is. We're going to roll. And then Carlos then goes on to say he needed to have someone on the show that would kind of shake things up. And he said he loved Tiffany. And I kind of figured that because at the end of the day, she is displaying what reality TV really is. On every show, you have that one person on the show that's always going, kind of shake things up and bring the friction. And she is doing just that. And we all know that Carlos is there for the mess. So he said that he actually is loving, Tiffany and what she is bringing to the show. And he knew that Tiffany would be a good fit just by them sitting down in the original consultation in the beginning, because she was saying some things and even Lou was looking like, you really saying that? But, so he knew that she would be a great addition to the actual show. So then Carlos goes on to say, do you think that Marceau was right for approaching Tiffany? And Dustin goes on to say, no, because at the end of the day, he had absolutely nothing to do with it. And pretty much that's the same thing that I said in my video. He had absolutely nothing to do with this. You should have excused yourself from the conversation when you see where the conversation was going. You should have, dismissed yourself. I'm gonna holler at y'all. I'm gonna give y'all space to talk or whatever. But no, you chose to sit there and sip the tea because slick side, you messy. You really kind of messy for a man, in my opinion. You kind of messy. So he sat there. Carlos then asked about the Karen comment, and Dustin said that pretty much Marceau was actually being a Karen. He described what a Karen really was, and basically what he did is he described exactly what he did. He inserted himself into something that had absolutely nothing to do with him. And I'm going to keep saying it. Again, you had nothing to do with it. Your name, Tisha name, none of that, you know, didn't affect you. So I don't understand why you inserted yourself into something you clearly, again, had nothing to do with it, especially when it came to you sitting there, what I felt was an ambush on a pregnant woman. That just was so wrong on so many levels. Dustin then goes on to say that um said that he had not done what he did. Basically, Carlos had asked in reference to Martell, because Dustin felt as though even with Martell, this is something that you shouldn't even have approached her with. You should either have went to her husband with it, or you should have let Sheree handle it. And I don't know why that everyone is acting as though this isn't something that's originally up Sheree's alley. This Sheree Martell, have you ever really watched The Real Housewives of Atlanta? Trust and believe. Sheree know how to handle herself. She sat there with a smirk on her face, which kind of almost validate what we all been thinking, that this is fake. So that's why it didn't really affect her in such a way, because we know how Sheree can get down. Sheree can get real, real gutter. She claimed that, she didn't do that because that was his event. But we know the Sheree, and Sheree ain't never cared nothing about, doing nothing at nobody's event. So why all of a sudden now you would care? But Dustin said pretty much at the end of the day, yeah, Martell shouldn't have approached it either, because at the end of the day, he should have thought about all of this, because again, we wouldn't be here, and it wouldn't be a charade had he not done what he done in the past. And pretty much Dustin said that it's time for him to take some responsibility for the things that he has done to create this big problem that he's having. He said that he need to pretty much shelf himself into a better place, and people will kind of see him in a different light. But as long as he is spiraling out of control, we can't see him in a better light, because we see what you're doing. Y'all excuse me, my dog is going mad crazy. But anywho, he said that it's time for him to move on, pretty much in so many words, move on, stop spiraling out of control, trying to prove yourself right about something that is 3-4 years old, and just move on. Carlos then says that he agree. He do think that him and Sheree is, he asked Dustin, do you think that him and Sheree is in a real relationship? And pretty much Dustin was like, I don't feel that it's right that the viewers or anyone invest their time if they're not a real couple. And I totally agree. Like, why play in our face? Why play in our face? Now we all understand that it's supposedly it was supposed to have been a 10% cut that he was supposed to get from being on our HOA. But if Bravo didn't cut the check in Martell's name and they gave it to Sheree, thinking that Sheree would pay Martell, oh, he probably still to this day probably have not got paid. Maybe hence the reason why when you ask him about Sheree, it is nothing really solid or anything. He just kind of shrugged it off like, oh yeah, we just friends, because he probably ain't got paid. Because we all know that allegedly Sheree don't pay nobody. So Martell would not be any different. But anywho, he said that we haven't, seen them together enough to trust that it is anything additional with them. He said that they are very casual when they with one another. They just look like they two people that's friends and hang out. It don't look like they official. It don't seem like a relationship. You ask one a question, they answered one way. You ask the other one another question, they answered another way. It just screams fake. So then Carlos goes on to say that they are, both over their 40s, and he feel like they have an intimacy, and they aren't in love. He said he know for a fact they're not in love, but they're just having fun. And he said he feels that it's a bunch of Trojans and a bunch of wet towels. Now y'all try to read between them lines to see what Carlos is saying. And I've been saying that. I've been saying that since day one when all of this came out. I did not feel as though this was real. The whole thing and how they even came out was just a play to me. Coincidentally, y'all go walking the dog or however it was, coincidentally, paparazzi right there. You in Atlanta. So Sheree is seen around Atlanta a lot. I don't think paparazzi really just follow Sheree around like that, because I just don't. But we all know that supposedly, allegedly, Freddie O, which is a celebrity photographer, was called to, catch those actual images. So again, it screams fake. So I have said that although I thought it was fake, it may have been something that was a contract, Martell get paid or however. But I did feel as though when it comes to the intimacy part, yeah, I believe that they are intimate with one another, because look at who both of them are. Look at both who they both are. And I felt that, yeah, and I don't think it's nothing, no strings attached or nothing serious, but I did feel as though there was some type of intimacy between the two. They having fun, and rightfully so. He's divorced, she's single. So I don't know what the big dig would be, or why you hiding, or why y'all coming up with all this fakeness. But it just basically again validates what the both of you are: liars, in my opinion. We know Martell has a big history of lying, and we know that things that Sheree say can be very questionable as well. So it just wasn't. It's just not really a good look. Dustin then says that um Martell, defends the actual connection, but we just said that it was kind of odd. So is it a one night stand, or is this something serious? He said that he need to pick a message and stick to it. Either you gonna ride for this, friendship or relationship, or is this just a fly by night type situation? He said that basically we've caught him in yet again another lie, because your story changes. You keep going from one thing to the next. One minute y'all just friends, y'all cool. Next minute, we getting there. Like you almost ready to take her down the aisle. Make up your mind which side of the fence that you're on with her. But we all know Martell tends to have, to me, in my opinion, because I'm not a therapist, psychiatrist, or any of that, but he not only is a narcissist in my book, but I feel Martell has a tad bit of bipolar, because one minute you're one way and the next minute you're a whole nother way. which can be come across very manipulative. And basically, again, validation. We can't trust nothing that come out your mouth. So then um he said that he described the situation, and she kind of explains the situation in another way. She explained like she head over heels for him, but yet and still he kind of, when you question him about it, depending on which way the sun's shining, you may get she's a friend, you may get that she is my guest. I mean, you just never know what you gonna get. When he introduced her to people, he introduced her as someone different every time. I mean, by now y'all have been dating for quite some time. You've never identified her as your girlfriend. You never identified her as your significant other. It's just basically, this my guest, this my friend. Oh, we taking it slow. Like, go ahead on. Anyways, so then Carlos said that he do feel that it was sexual, that it was very sexual at her house, but she didn't approach the situation and appear to be comfortable at Martell's house. And I said the same thing. When he was at the chateau, he was unbuttoned, had his pants, undone, and she was talking in reference to, that's when everybody was saying something about the OnlyFans, and he over there thinking that it's about to be threesomes. He go change clothes. He get comfortable. However, when she was in Huntsville, she knocking on the door early in the morning. She didn't even know to take her shoes off. So it was clear evident that she didn't spend the night at his house, but yet she says that she's in Huntsville all the time. So you're in Huntsville all the time, but you never have been to his house? Because that's what it came across, like you never been there. Because someone that has been to someone's home would automatically know from the very first visit, I am to take my shoes off at the door. They're a little more comfortable in moving around, especially if it's a man that you dealing with on that level. Plus, you in his city. So why are you going to a hotel room? Like, why were you in a hotel room? Why was he at home and you were over there? But y'all are supposedly dating and being on these certain levels, but don't think to sleep in the same house. But anyways, carry on. Dustin then says that Martell's ego is forcing himself on Mel, and he think that basically he's still in love with Mel, and he think that it's his ego that is keep driving him to Mel, because basically he never expected for Mel to go through with the divorce. He never expected for her to leave. And so pretty much when God told her to go and she went, it shot his ego to hell, because he was not expecting nor ready for that. He said that pretty much he feels that Mel don't care nothing about him and Sheree, and she don't. She proved that on the episode when they got to talking about the comment that was made to Sheree. Mel politely removed herself from that table, when fixed her plate, and the minute she saw Martell, I don't even know if Mel got to eat the plate, because she was like, "Nah, I'm out of here. That's my cue to go," and she was out the door. So nah, that woman ain't checking for you nor Sheree. And they kind of move on. That they move on to the Kimmy and Maurice situation. And Carlos pretty much just goes in to say, do you feel it's a concern with Maurice, because he is, very sexual. We've heard that so many times, that he wants it 4 or 5 times a day, like he's still walking the high school halls. Do you think that Kimmy has a concern or worried about Maurice stepping out on her? And Dustin said at the end of the day, you know, he should bow down at her feet, because for one, she's still filming, and Maurice should be more concerned about what she's going through during her treatment than stepping out or even expecting intimacy at this time. He said that basically it's a testament, it's a testament for her, and it shows the character of herself because she has opened up to the world about what she's going through. She has, at her most vulnerable time, she is opened up to allow us to see that. And I have to give it big ups to her as well. I know a lot of people don't kind of really rock with Kimmy, which I a lot of times be on the fence with Kimmy because I feel as though, again, y'all, excuse me, my dog is doing his thing. But I feel like a lot of times, in my opinion, Kimmy is stuck between a rock and a hard place and almost being pushed and pulled because I feel as though she do care for Mel. However, she has to pretty much kind of take it a certain way because of Maurice and probably his feelings for Mel. So I do feel as though, a lot of times that is more of her being pushed and pulled with that. But again, I agree with Dustin. His concern of, the intimacy should be the last that you're worried about. This lady is going through treatments and she is opening up to the world. She has, I'm pretty sure, influenced and pretty much motivated a lot of women to get up, go get your checks, and stay on top of that, especially if you're a woman over 40. So big ups to her. I definitely agree with everything that Dustin was saying. Dustin said that he felt some type of way even about Maurice resisting about Kimmy having a party that Mel originally threw. He originally, as we know, he didn't want Kimmy to have that party. He felt as though she needed to rest and and all of that. Whereas Dustin was saying, this is at the time of her life, she made it over a milestone in that part of the journey and she wanted to celebrate. So if this is something that she wanted to do and wasn't being forced on her, why would you want to, resist that? Now, of course, we all know that she ended up having the party, but again, it just was, kind of weird that you wouldn't support her on that. And he said that pretty much that he needs to be a supporter and not a dictator. And he said he's spelling that with a K and not a C. Take it for what it is. If you know, you know. Anyways, Dustin then goes on to mention that they went through the treatment with Dr. Francis, and that's where Maurice really kind of opened up about, the intimacy and how often he wanted it. And Dustin really ain't feeling Dr. Francis, nor Dr. Francis' wife. He said that pretty much he don't feel like they did nothing. Like nothing was solved. He didn't care for how they handled Lou and Tiffany after they left. He said, and this is the main reason that people need to get second opinions when it comes to therapists, because he ain't feeling them. um, but overall, he said that we need to be more concerned, or about Kimmy and and her healing versus Maurice catching you know, getting pleasure, a happy ending, should we say. So then Carlos goes on to say that in his eyes, Kimmy does no wrong. He said that he loved her and he loved her transparency and pretty much, you know, Kimmy stayed regardless of her situation. And, her, she brings a lot to the actual show and he loved her. Now, Now, of course, we all know that they have been saying things about cash shakeup, so you can almost guarantee Kimmy ain't finna be one that's gonna be shook out. Let's say that. So then Dustin also goes on and said that the show, he loved what the show and where the show is going, but he would like to see, Maurice. He want to see Maurice doing something else. He don't want to hear nothing else about his level of intimacy. He ready to see what Maurice got to offer as being an attorney. And I think we all are saying that. We all want to see, what do you do? In a day's time, what do you really do? Now we know you have renovations going on at Credit One, but since you have finished school, what have you done to pursue your attorney your attorney degree, or however, what have you done? Have you been in a courthouse? Have you had any cases? What have you done since pursuing and getting that actual degree? So then we go on to talk about the baby shower. Now Carlos asked about Tiffany saying um about Mel being a fan. He said he don't think that Sheree was really indicating that Mel was, a fan. Dustin, Dustin said he knows Sheree very well, and that Sheree knew what she was doing when she said it. Because pretty much the way she presented it is how she met Mel at a book signing, and pretty much she introduced herself and she asked to take a picture. And but he said that he do feel like Tiffany did put 10 on 20. And what's really wrong with her being a fan if she was a fan back in the day? Because of course we all know that Sheree was a big, figure on Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I think at one point all of them was a big fan. Everybody probably was big fans of all of them because that was a very popular show. And so why would it be, a problem if she was a fan? So Carlos then goes on to say that he has been a fan of pretty much everyone he's had on his show. He's pretty much been a fan of them, and that is it basically he's been, I'm sorry y'all, he's basically been a fan to everyone that has been on his show, and he don't feel like it's nothing wrong with, you know being a fan of someone, and it's not. So I don't know what that was supposed to mean, because maybe because she dating Martell now. But we got to keep in mind that even with Sheree and Martell dealing with one another, they weren't dealing with each other when Mel and Martell was together. And again, Melanie doesn't care. She's made it clear she has no problem with Sheree. So I don't know, why is it that people are trying to make it be a problem when there's no problem? So then we go on and they talk about Big Lou, and he said the Eminem guys, because it's Maurice, Martell, and Marceau. And Carlos said, what was your interpretation of the meetup? And Dustin said that he felt like, Lou felt obligated to check them, but he didn't really seem that angry. He said that he feels as though Lou pivoted a lot and he didn't like that. He said one minute he acted like he was turned up, then the next minute he turned down. It was like, he was back and forth to him. And I felt the same way. I felt as though, he just, you backed up like a crawfish. In my book, I felt like you backed up like a crawfish, with that, because you didn't really come with that same energy that you kind of presented it to Tiffany like you was coming with. So to me, because we would have really, really had a conversation and it wouldn't have been no backing down, but it almost seems as though he originally came across that way, but then when it looks as though again it was them on him, he kind of like piped down, because in a way I guess he did feel that Tiffany was wrong for coming at Sheree that way. But again, you can't lose focus on the fact that these two men ambushed your wife during a conversation, and one of them didn't have anything to even do with it to begin with. So you can't skate around that. But overall, he said that he is enjoying Tiffany and Lou this season because they are doing what need to be done. So then Carlos goes on to say, What do you say, as being a longtime viewer of the show, what do you think needs to change? And Dustin said that he's enjoying the season, but he is only he's only interested in the original six. He said he especially would like to see the three women's come together. He said he feels as though they're a great trio when they're all on the same page. He said that he likes Stormy's story, but he don't care for her husband and how he kind of handled the comment with the baby situation. He said that he feels that Courtney needs to just be honest on why he really don't want a baby, because we all heard him giving them sad excuses and came up with 50 million excuses. And Dustin said he just need to be honest as to why he don't want no baby. Or do he not want a baby with her? And he also said that he didn't like, what Miss Betty had to say. Miss Betty said, hold off the pound cake and maybe he'll change his mind. Like, what? What is that for a mother to say? But we talking about Betty still, so it is what it is. He did say that he felt that Stormy is harboring some resentment towards Mel, and she need to just either let it go or let it out. Say what it is, say what your problem is, so they can move forward, with it. Carlos also then goes on to say that, he's heard people say that Tiffany is just trying to keep up. Tiffany is just trying to keep her job, and that's the reason she doing what she's doing. So again, Carlos watch a lot of these blogs. He do hear what we say. He may not come out right and comment or be in the comments, but he hear a lot of it. That's why we have to keep shedding light on things that we don't approve of, because it slides across his desk. It really does. But overall, he said he loved Tiffany. Dustin then gave Mel, her props. He said, as a mother, a cast member, a business, an entrepreneur, she bring it. She bringing it. He also said that he do like Kiki, but he said he don't want to hear nothing else about them pills. It's time to hear something else. So she need to come on with a better story, because we over and past these pills. We tired of hearing the situation between her and Letitia, because to me, I feel, because I did see Kiki on live, and I do feel as though Kiki want her and Tisha to be close, because they are at the end of the day family. And I do think that she has a lot to say, and she do be upset. But I think when she's approached, or when the time to say what she feel, or time to speak her truth, I feel she kind of back up, like a crawfish, and it never come across with the same energy you originally presented. So it comes across as though, you know, kind of shaky. But I do like Kiki. I feel like she real. I feel like she would be a good cast member on the show. I feel like now, I guess she kind of testing the waters, but don't really want to rock the boat because she's new. In the beginning, they all come on there. They really wasn't doing that. Tiffany really wasn't doing nothing when she came. Stormy came on there with a whole bunch of rah-rah ratchet mess. And so, to me, I hope with the cast shakeup, Kiki is not one that they shake out, because give her a chance. Because as of right now, I just feel like Letitia and some of the other cast members are pushing her in a corner to where she can't really be who she would need to be to bring it on this show. But overall, I felt that the interview was good. Like I said, I enjoyed Dustin's commentary. I like the way he is very unbiased, and he point out things that I feel like Carlos need to hear, because I do feel as though, some things Carlos know, but he don't want to point out. And I think when Dustin come on the show, he point out those things that are obvious, and the things that Carlos have kind of overlooked. But him, as being a viewer, he's able to see things more from our point of view. But overall, I think it was a good interview. But anywho, y'all, that was pretty much it. If you did get a chance to see that interview, comment down below and let me know how you feel. If you had not watched the interview, you can catch that interview on Carlos King's page over there on his channel. And I think it was actually uploaded perhaps like 5 days ago. So you can go and check that out. And pretty much, again, y'all, that was pretty much all that I had here for tonight. And until the next time, and again, if you have not liked the video, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and turn on those notification bells. And until next time, love y'all. Good night.